Howdy, boys and girls. Welcome to the Accelerativ Thrust radio.
What the hell is going on?
My name is Yeehaw Dan. This here is my partner, Eerie Eric. He's mighty spooky. Eerie Eric, how you doing?
I'm okay. What's all this then?
Well, partner, today we got ourselves a troubadour coming to town.
Wow.
He's going to be coming in on his horse. His name is Jack Christensen.
Wow.
So, Eric,
is this going to keep going? I'm mentally preparing.
Do you want to go back to the old way of doing the show?
The old way?
Yeah.
But is this the new way?
Let's go back to the old way. Greetings, citizens of Earth. Welcome to Accelerativ Thrust. I'm Dan.
And I'm Eric.
And today we're going to be talking to Jack Christensen, who is, where is Jack from originally?
I think Cedar Falls area, at least, Waterloo.
Mm-hmm. Cedar Falls, yeah. And Eric actually has a history with Jack Christensen. I haven't actually met Jack Christensen that I'm aware of in real life, but in fake life, which is through the computer. I listen to his music and it's very good. So this is going to be really fun, man. But yeah, no, this Jack Christensen, man, he put out a really killer record.
Yeah.
And it's, so I'm excited to talk to him.
It looks different at night.
It looks different
the name
at night.
of it. We reviewed it a little while back. It's a cool record. It has a kind of dark, synthy vibe to it. Yeah, it's cool. I'm excited to ask him about some of that.
Yeah, I'm really interested in hearing about like what his what went into doing it, because from what I understand, it's pretty different. I remember in the review you said that it wasn't what you expected coming from Jack Christensen, Eric. So
yeah, honestly, it was a little more like, not that it was Jack specifically, just like when people make like their first solo record or something, like automatically in my mind I think singer-songwriter or kind of that like Americana or folk or something. I don't know. It just seems to, whenever I hear like solo project, that's the first thing that comes to my mind, and I don't know why exactly, but
sure.
So, and I knew that of the beat strings, the other people, like Adam Boltz has gone on to do Spaniel, which is kind of a country thing. Cody Brown does like rock and roll, and so kind of a dark, almost dark wave record. I was really not, I don't know, I wasn't expecting. So. Yeah, but it is really cool and really good. And I guess we should talk to him, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's talk to him.
Okay, I'll bring him in. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, no problem.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello,
hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Wow. Is that from Full House?
Three Stooges, I believe.
Oh, okay. I think they just did it on Full House. That's right.
Yeah, I think
they do a lot of Three Stooges.
Yeah.
Bits. They do. It's outrageous. I hate watch Full House nearly every day.
Recently?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. When we get off this call, I'll probably go straight into an episode.
Isn't there that conspiracy theory that did we talk about that, about how there's the fan theory that Full House takes place in purgatory or something?
Wow, no.
You never heard that? Yeah. Read
I've
up
never
on
heard
it.
that. No.
Yeah, read up on it. It's a conspiracy theory about Full House. It's really interesting. Right off the bat, I have a question for both of you guys.
Yes.
Have you heard that today? And apparently today it happened, or at least it was revealed in the news, that Courtney Love unleashed some like scrapped lyrics from Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Wow.
Yes,
No.
and so check this out.
Mm-hmm.
The opening line, instead of being what it ended up being, which is load up on guns, was going to be, I think, come out and play.
Like
Wow.
the first line, like come out and play.
Yes.
Huh.
It would have been come out and play, which, 2 years later, that would have meant that the Offspring were plagiarists.
Well, yeah, but 5 years earlier, Twisted Sister had a song called "Come Out and Play."
Oh.
Yeah, that definitely was. What album was that off of? The same album as the two major hits that they had?
No, it was on the album "Come Out and Play." It was really cool. It had this cover, and on the cover was like a manhole cover, and then but it was like die cut, and when you lifted it, it was D. Snyder covered in like seaweed with like a pink light behind him.
Whoa. Was the cover embossed? Like you could feel it and it was textured?
Yeah, the manhole cover was embossed. Yeah.
Have you ever seen Talking Heads' Fear of Music with the embossed cover?
I don't think so.
Yes, I believe I have actually. Yes.
Yeah, it's got to be really similar because they was like gosh, I don't even know what you call it. It's like that textured. It's like a textured metal thing.
That's kind of what Twisted Sister is anyway, right? Textured metal.
And then D. Snyder went on to sing for Big Business, so that's cool. That's a lie, but he does sound just like D. Snyder.
He sounds like a combination of King Buzzo, which makes sense because they joined the Melvins.
Wow.
And then and D. Snyder, I think.
Yeah, D. Buzzo.
That's what I was thinking. My only exposure to Big Business was when they acted as the rhythm section for the Melvins, or at least I think the drummer played alongside Dale Crover.
Yes,
and then the bass player was just the bass player.
Yep. And they were also. It should be noted too that Big Business were in a couple of really sort of legendary bands in their own right before Big Business, because Jared Warren was in Carp, the bassist, and the drummer was the drummer for the Murder City Devils. Cody Willis. Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yep, he was in the Murder City Devils. Yep.
Wow.
Now, I'm a Murder City Devils freak. I did not know that the drummer for the Murder City Devils was the drummer for Big Business.
Yep, Cody Willis. He was the drummer for Murder City Devils.
And that's why you tune in to Accelerativ Thrust.
I do. I mean,
we have all the bullshit.
I do learn quite a bit every time I listen to your show.
How not to be funny or interesting.
Yeah.
Those things too.
Also, Big Business was a great movie starring Bette Midler and Lily Tomlin. So, I mean,
okay, that I did.
That's not really connected at all. But
do you think that they got the name from that movie?
Let's ask them.
That's all we got to do. Just give them a call. Yeah.
I'll send them a message later.
Sure.
You've probably never been asked this before.
I do know that the Melvins were named after a really mean, like, store owner from like Aberdeen or something like that, named Melvin.
Oh, wow. I knew it was. I thought, I guess in my mind it was like a gym teacher or something, but maybe I'm conflating it with like apparently Green Day got their name because some teacher told them it would be a Green Day in hell before they made anything of themselves.
Really? Green Day in hell?
Right? I mean, it doesn't even make any sense, but that's what I heard.
Unless you're a Misfits fan, and then it could just be Green Hell.
Yeah, I didn't make that connection either. Yeah,
I always thought that the Melvins got their name from the main character in the Toxic Avenger. I guess not.
Was his name
true.
Melvin?
Yeah, Melvin Junko.
I think it was Junko in 2 and 3, but in the first movie it was something else.
Oh yeah,
I think.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
I could be talking out of my shoe there, but
no, I think you're right. Yep. I don't remember his name in the first one.
Well, I had an Uncle Melvin who lived to be like 95 years old, chain smoked every day of his life until he died.
Hey, smoke up, Johnny!
And I always thought that they secretly got their name from visiting Iowa and meeting my Uncle Melvin.
Oh. Seems likely.
Yeah, I know. They're just like, oh, there was this guy.
Yeah. We met this cool uncle.
Cool.
He was old and smoking.
He was, he definitely was old and smoking, man.
Earlier I was watching a little video cast from the band Para Ubu, or it was really just the singer, but they were talking about how the singer David Thomas had almost died like 2 times recently, had been like in the hospital, and they were saying like, I don't know if he's going to make it through the night. And while he's on the during this little video cast, he's chain smoking cigarettes and eating Taco Bell.
Oh man.
I mean, that's that. You're probably to the point where you're just like, yeah, it's just going to happen anyway. You know?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the way he sees it, like he could just drop dead any minute, so you may as well,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I wonder what he was eating from Taco Bell. Like, I wonder what his.
He held it up. It was like a big burrito looking thing, and he was like, he said, he called it a Taco Bell. He holds it up. He says, "I've got a Taco Bell," and he holds it up holds this big burrito up.
Wow.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can't necessarily call the things burritos or tacos. They have to be like a derivative of a burrito or taco. Like,
right.
You might as well just call it a burrito bell. I wonder if there is a burrito bell. That would be genius, wouldn't it?
Oh, that sounds familiar. Like maybe they did do some, but I don't know. Maybe it's such a good idea that maybe I heard it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this podcast has turned into a food cast again. Damn it.
That's all we talk about.
That is all we talk about. When
I picked up Eric's double bass so that I could I could fill in a gig with his band. I was leaving. I said, "Oh, I gotta go make the kids dinner." And he's like, "Yeah, I gotta go and make dinner too." And I said, "What are you gonna make?" And he said, "Oh, I think like Jamaican jerked salmon." I was like, I'm gonna go make some frozen chicken patties for kids.
Hey, those are good too. It's all good.
Yeah, they are good. I like both of those things actually.
Yeah.
I
love Jamaican jerk anything.
Oh heck yeah!
Mostly because I'm a jerk.
But you're a cool jerk.
Cool jerk. Yeah. Cool jerk. Every time I hear that song, I think of a weirdly moving shadow behind a shower curtain.
Yeah.
Gee, I wonder why that would be.
Me too.
Me too. It's really? Ingrained. It's ingrained in our heads at this point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that party that Kevin McAllister throws. Everyone's just kind of moving strangely.
It's got like a
really
like a cardboard cutout on a model train.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's walking around the party.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's not dissimilar to some parties I've actually.
What were they called? What were they called? The Wet Bandits, I think it was. They were they were showing up because what was it? That one guy was insisting on leaving like the sinks clogged, and that was like their. God, that would be horrible. You get robbed and you don't have flood insurance.
Yeah, it's just mean.
Those
guys deserved everything that happened to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man. Well, we have bullshitted for a while. What do you think? What do you think we get this dang thing started?
This isn't the thing.
Let's get to some of these questions.
All right.
All right. I'm gonna start. Jack.
Yeah.
How did you? Okay. How/when did you first get into playing music?
I was about 11 years old, and it's kind of like that. I saw this like Hard Times fake headline that says younger brother of guitar player guesses he has to learn bass now. And that was basically it. My brother started playing guitar, and like the kid next door is playing drums, and I kind of de facto became the bass player about 31-ish years ago. And that's kind of it. It was a cover band, but it ended up going for a long time. I mean, we played for like 15 years or more, or something like that. And
wow.
So I gained a lot of experience on the bass, and I mean, and now I'm perfectly comfortable being a bass player. I don't see it as like a lesser musical vocation or anything. I kind of, like I should say it was slightly begrudging at first, but now I take great pride in being a bass player now.
For sure. Yeah. What was the name of that band?
We were called Scarlet Runner.
Oh yeah.
We were fairly, I mean, we caught some heat in Iowa. You know, I don't know, we played a lot, but it was basically like, you know, it started out as different stuff. Like we would play, you know, we would throw in the odd radio cover, like a Soul Asylum or something, and maybe an Aerosmith song here or there. But pretty quickly, it became like almost exclusively like Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan, like electric blues kind of stuff.
Oh, cool.
Not really. Not by my choice, you know. I was the younger. I was outnumbered, and I was younger than the other two guys. So,
gotcha.
But anyway, so that's how I started playing. Yeah.
Yeah. So when and how did you meet up with all the Beat Strings guys?
Well, my now wife and I were living in an apartment in Waterloo, and actually my twin sisters, who are like about 5 years younger than me or something, they had the apartment next to mine, and they had met Adam from the Beat Strings. I don't remember if they just happened to be at one of his shows at what was called the Reverb at the time. Either they were at a Beat String show at the Reverb, or they met Adam. Anyway, Adam ended up back at their place, and we used to hang out with my sisters a lot, just, you know, listening to music or whatever. And so I met Adam, and we were just talking music and stuff, and I mentioned, you know, that I'd played bass in Scarlet Runner, and he'd heard of us and stuff, and that it kind of happened that they had put out their first record, Love, Lust, Wonder, and they had done a quick little tour down to South by Southwest, like at the end of which they were supposed to go to Jamaica, but that fell through. And then they came back, and they had like the second super long, like 50-day tour booked. And their bass player, Steve, was going to be moving out west somewhere. Now I can't remember. I think it was California, somewhere in California, or it could have been Washington, or I don't know. That was a while ago. Then they said, hey, like, do you want to join the band and do this tour with us? And I'd heard their record, and I really, really liked it. And it's like, heck yeah, you know. So I joined up, and then, you know, and then we wrote a bunch of more stuff together and made another record, and then made a 7-inch and all that stuff. And yeah, that's basically the story there.
Sweet.
Yeah. So I want to ask about It Looks Different at Night.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what kind of led to I guess this is kind of a basic question, but I find the record to be very interesting because it kind of has like a new wavy sort of, almost like new wave, I don't know, grunge. I kind of hesitate to say all these terms, but that's sort of what it reminded me of a little bit. And it seems like it was kind of a different direction. You know, I heard some of the Beat String stuff before too. Maybe this was kind of like a newer direction. What was the situation that led to the direction of doing a solo record, and just also the musical direction in general?
Well, I mean, I kind of went into it without a real defined idea of how it would sound when it was done, but I wanted to start. I knew I wanted to learn to play the keyboard. I still can't really play the keyboard, but I had actually Rodney Anonymous from the Dead Milkmen. He's real interactive on the social media, and I dropped him a line and said, "Hey, I want to learn to play the keyboard. How do I do it?" And he said, "Don't learn, just download a free DAW and buy a cheap MIDI keyboard and just play. Like, don't learn, just do it." Yeah. And so there was that. And I guess I just didn't have a really strong idea of what I wanted it to sound like, but I knew that I wanted it to be a little darker. I knew that I wanted to have a lot of synth and a lot of keyboard on it, just because I've always really, really been into that stuff. I mean, even pre-Beat Strings, I was just that the whole, like, even not necessarily the dark stuff, even talking like, you know, John Hughes soundtrack kind of stuff. I was just loved that kind of stuff. And then I had really gotten into a few of the sort of synthwave bands that have been cropping up recently, like Black Marble was a big one. I mean, if you could point to anything that, like, that might have had like inaudible influence on the record. It's probably just Black Marble, although I mean, I'm hoping and like crossing my fingers it doesn't sound too much like that. And I didn't go into it saying I want to make something that sounds like Black Marble, but
Right.
Just in terms of instrumentation, having, you know, programmed drums and then laying bass on top of it and then kind of layering synthesizers on top of that, I suppose. I suppose is something I kind of borrowed from Black Marble, or thought, yeah, I liked that format, I guess, and I knew that I wanted to do something sort of with that same combination of instruments, I suppose. And like the songs, I kind of wrote them as they were being recorded. I just kind of wrote them in the computer. You know, I would try to come up with an interesting drum beat, and then sort of what ended up happening is then I would like add synth parts on top of the drums, and I still, to right now, this minute, I have no idea what any of those chords actually are. I would just kind of put my fingers on it, and no, that's I would have like a mood, I guess. I would have a mood in mind that I want this keyboard part to feel like this, and I would just kind of play something and think, that's not quite right, and so I'd move one finger down there. That's getting closer, and I just kind of built the keyboard parts that way.
Wow. Nice. Yeah, and that makes the record even more interesting, because it kind like in a lot of ways you were kind of learning as you went with it. Is that kind of
absolutely fair to say? Oh yeah, absolutely. I was. I had made a couple of attempts over the years to record stuff. I mean, I mean, like, God, I mean, 20 years ago probably, I think I started kind of trying to put stuff together on a 4-track, and my 4-track blew up, and then I kind of got this.
Wait, whoa! It blew up?
Yeah, I think the said apartment. It was the same apartment I lived in when I met Adam from the Beat Strings, but I think that something like maybe the power coming out of the wall socket was like really unstable or something. I don't know I don't know what happened, but the thing just stopped working one day.
Wow. That kind of reminds me of the story that the monitors in the studio started melting from the distortion during You're Living All Over Me by Dinosaur Jr. during the recording of that album.
They melted?
That's what I've read.
Wow.
So sorry, we can talk more about that.
Explosive musical equipment.
Yeah, I've exploded a lot of shit.
The other reason I got quiet because I was trying to decide if I thought that was true or not, or if it just sounded good. Like, oh man, like Maskus plays so loud, he literally melted the speakers in the studio.
Speakers. I mean, you could melt the glue that holds the tone
or maybe,
on or something.
Maybe it was more like the monitors were smoking or something. I don't know.
That could be possible.
Yeah, maybe I'm using the wrong word, because apparently melting and smoking are the same thing in my mind.
I was going to ask about. So you said that a lot of the stuff was written while you were recording it. Were any of the songs older than that? Were there any songs that you've been waiting to put on a record for years?
Yeah. Actually, I would say maybe I overstated how much of it was written in the computer. I would say about half the album, the songs, at least like the kernel of the song is old. Like Somnambulant. That's something I wrote while the Beat Strings were still together, and I tried to get the band to play it. Like I tried to turn it into a Beat String song, and the band ended up kind of drifting apart and dissolving before it got developed into a song. The second track, You Drive Like You're On, I think the drums and the bass were sort of the drums and the bass from a weird instrumental I wrote a long time ago called You Drive Like You're on Speed. But it was just the bass and the drums, and everything else on top is something that I came up with this last year or two while I was writing it. And kind of the same with the first track, Humans. That was actually the bass and the drums again were the bass and the drums to a fully formed song. Actually, I wrote, 20 some years ago called Rattlesnake, but now I ended up just kind of taking the bass and the drums from Rattlesnake and throwing everything else away, and everything else, and then everything else I added was new. So it's kind of a combination of the two. Yeah, some of the songs started a long time ago, and then I guess some of them I started recording with the intention of just, I'm going to record that old song I wrote, but then once I got a few of the parts in there, it just, I don't know, they just didn't seem interesting enough or something, or I just decided that the bass and the drums were the only parts I liked about them, so I kept those and just scrapped everything else and redid the other stuff.
Nice. Yeah, so you kind of had sort of the beginnings of the songs, but you sort of figured out how they went, and the arrangements and the sounds and things, basically while you were working on it. That's cool.
More or less. And then some of the other songs really were like, I built a drum beat, and then I came up with a cool keyboard part, and then I had to put, cool, I guess is up for debate, but yeah, I came up with keyboard parts I thought were interesting, and then I had to sort of like Wrap Me Around Your Shoulder that's all completely new. That was just I came up with a drum part, and then I tried to come up with the coolest synth parts I could, and then kind of built them that way. And there's a few that came together like that too.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I know your connection to Landon. I mean, he was the drummer of Beat Strings and everything. So you've known Landon for a while. But one of the things that caught my eye is that Nalani Proctor does vocals on Wrap Me Around Your Shoulder as well. And she's got the project Finally Some Action. So when you were kind of talking about the synthwave stuff, I guess I was just curious, how did you end up hooking up with Nalani Proctor?
That was really, really roundabout. This was like, at least 10 years ago. It was like around Halloween, and I felt like I hadn't seen, like the TV wasn't giving me enough Halloween content, and so I hopped on the YouTubes and just looked for, I don't even know what I typed in. I think Halloween was one of the words, and I happened upon this YouTube show that her longtime partner used to make called Everything Horrible, or Everything Horrible, but spelled horrible. And so it was like something him and her did, and she was on the show, and that kind of, and then from there, I listened to, for a while, I listened to a podcast he was on called Attack of the Killer Podcast.
Right. Yep.
And she kind of came on and guested on, Nalani came and guested on there a few times. And then Nalani, and one of the guys from Attack of the Killer Podcast had a band together called the PBJs.
Yep.
And I guess I found out about them through that podcast, and I loved I went and checked them out, and I loved them, and I loved her voice, and that kind of led me to check out some of her other stuff. And I guess I just really, really loved her voice. So when I knew I wanted to have female harmonies on that. So her and I, we'd corresponded online just a little, just talking about music or movies or whatever. And I'm just reached out, said, hey, like, I'm making this album. Would you want to like put some vocals on some of these songs? At the time, I didn't thought maybe, that I would ask her to sing on more than that song, but it ended up just being the one song. And so that's basically it, basically. I mean, that was a long story, but yeah.
That's cool though. It's a small world,
yeah, it is. Because then after I discovered that, I ended up watching a bunch of episodes of that internet show that her and her fella did. And then like, in the descriptions or something, I saw they were in Keokuk. I was like, oh, they're from Iowa. And
oh, wow. That's
I
cool.
ended up figuring out that, like, yeah, I mean, I could have happened upon anything on YouTube, but ended up finding these people who live in Iowa and do music. And then, like 10 years later or something, I asked her to do some vocals on my record, and she was cool enough to do it.
So I was going to go back to Landon Strauss, just for a second, and sort of a roundabout question, I guess. Like, as far as the other members of the Beat Strings, do you guys still, I don't know, are you still in contact? Do you still play music together? I don't know. What's your relationship with them?
Yeah, no, we're all, I think we're all still, I think we all still care about each other a lot. Some of the people in the band are easier to get a hold of than others. I think just mostly because some people just kind of stay off the social media and stuff, and Messenger is almost like my main way of communicating. But me and Landon and Cody, we kind of tried to get a couple bands going because the Beat Strings we kind of reunited for that Bowie show. For that Bowie tribute show when Bowie died. And then we kind of tried to keep working on stuff. Like we were sort of trying to make another record, and just, I think different people in the band had personal reasons. Like they didn't feel like they could devote enough time and energy to it as they felt like they should. And so they just said, I'm sorry, I just can't do this right now. And, but so yeah, me, Landon, and Cody, we've worked on stuff, and we didn't end up recording any or playing any gigs. And Chris, the keyboard player, my family went on vacation to Florida a couple of years ago, and we were going to be near where, and he's living down there. I guess I don't know if I should give other people's whereabouts, but we looked him up and said, "Hey, we're going to be here." And him and his wife came out and hung out with us and the kids. And
cool.
And Landon, I've always him and I have just always been really good friends, just from the first time we met, really. Which really helps for like a bass player and a drummer to have, I don't know, to get along, I guess. But we just had sort of a really strong musical connection right off the bat. It instantly had a really natural, we played really well together naturally. I think sort of it can be a struggle. I found as a bass player, it's easier to connect with some drummers than to others, just because of playing styles, and just the way, I don't know, maybe some people played slightly ahead and slightly behind the beat, or whatever all that stuff is. But him and I just clicked immediately, and that sort of led to him and I just becoming really good friends while we were in the band, and we're still good friends. And
so you guys are, I guess I'll just mention this unless you want to. You have a show coming up, and is this a record release show? Is that what you would consider it, or is this just getting out there, kind of a first show kind of thing?
I suppose it could be a little bit of both. And that means I should probably make some more. The CDs and the cassettes are all handmade, so I suppose I better make a batch of those before the show in case people want them. I mean, I have like a small handful of them left. I suppose it's kind of a record release show, but I haven't really been like advertising it as that, or I haven't really mentioned it. It's more just my first show, I guess. Sure. It's my first solo show. I've played one other solo gig where I kind of had to be like the main guy, and that was at a Tom Petty tribute show again, I guess, when Tom Petty died. And that was my first and so far only time when I kind of had to carry it. You know, I had to be like the main dude. And so this will be my first time playing my own original music for anybody live.
And Landon's joining you, right? Yep.
He's the other half of my live band. And I kind of even knew while I was recording the album that I wanted to stay away from a drum set on the stage. Like I knew that I wanted it to, to do kind of like, I don't know, like Depeche Mode or something, or even like Black Marble, like I mentioned earlier. It's the same kind of thing. It's just kind of two dudes playing keyboards or guitars, and the drums are on a laptop. And I kind of just knew, I knew while I was recording the album that that's how I wanted to present it live. So yeah, we got drums and a couple other just various things that would have been hard for one of us to play while we were playing the other stuff. But yeah, I'm mostly playing bass and singing, and he's playing keyboards and guitars.
Cool.
And doing some singing, some backup singing and stuff.
Man, that's singing and playing bass. Oof, I don't know how you do it. I can't sing a single note and play a single note on the bass.
Some of the songs have proved easier in that regard than others. I've found that, I'm sure, just from playing and any instrument and singing, like sometimes if you're trying to strum one rhythm with your hands and sing a different rhythm with your mouth at the same time, it's hard.
Yeah,
I kind of discovered how hard it was because while I was recording the album, I didn't have to play and sing at the same time.
Exactly.
I could record whatever I wanted and then sing whatever I wanted on top of it. I didn't have to do anything at the same time. And then it came time to practice this stuff. I was like, oh my God, like Wrap Me Around Your Shoulder in particular is there's just a couple of parts where where the rhythm I'm playing and the rhythm I'm singing are different enough that it's really, really hard.
Well, and that's a pretty bass centered song too. Like the bass line really carries that song in particular, I feel.
And interesting enough, the bass was recorded. I had the keyboards first and had to kind of fit a bass part to it. But it ended up, even though the bass came after, it is really a bass driven song. The bass does carry the musical, the instrumental side.
Sure. Well, I suppose that this would be a good segue then into talking about your potentially Resurrection Land, the project.
Well, we're not sure if it's going to be called Resurrection Land. That's a name I floated, and Landon didn't say I hate it, but he also didn't say I like it. So
did he say anything? That was
I think he said that's fine for now.
Oh, gotcha. Gotcha.
Classic Landon response right there.
Yeah, exactly. That is. But basically, we're kind of we should say the show is June 3rd. Sank, who is a Midwest rapper, is opening. Then I'm doing my solo show with Landon, and then Old Scratch Revival Singers are closing the show, which you, Eric, are in. I don't know. I don't know if you make it. If you want people to know that you're in the band that's playing that night.
Yeah, well, we can say I'm in it. That's fine.
Yeah, and I was really excited. I'm getting to fill in on bass with you guys. So me and Eric are both going to be closing that show down. But June 3rd, Octopus, Cedar Falls. Please come out. It's my first ever live show, and if you haven't seen the Old Scratch Revival Singers, you must.
Yeah, but it's a reunion show and our last show. Just like every show we play.
Right. Yeah, I think I saw a last show of you guys is at the Mill like 15 years ago or something. Oh, yeah. And I've seen you 5 or 6 times since then.
Yeah, and each of those was the last show.
But yeah, so just this last Saturday we had our last practice for the June 3rd show. Me and Landon did, and I was packing my stuff up, and we were just kind of like, man, like we both kind of just wanted to keep working together on something. And we decided, well, why don't we work on new music together, and it won't be like, I mean, I'd floated the idea of having a band name for the live show, and he was kind of like, no, this is your stuff. This is Jack Christensen music. I'm your backup band. But then we kind of, after practices wrapped up, we're like kind of sad practices were done. And we said, well, why don't we actually form a band that's not your band or my band? It's our band, and we'll have a band name, and we'll, and kind of the direction, at least the first sort of few ideas I floated him. And he said he's actually recorded some of the stuff I sort of described to him. I haven't gotten a chance to hear it yet because I've been practicing my butt off for Old Scratch. But it's sort of coming, I think it's going to be kind of like an experimental electronic thing. Like I think there's going to be a lot of synths. Some of it might be kind of ambient and not really have a formal song structure. I mean, I would say maybe if I had to, I would say maybe like a way less aggressive Wolf Eyes almost.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
Not exactly. I mean, less noisy too. I mean, I imagine it's going to be less dissonant and all that stuff, but that's kind of what I have in my head is, you know, a lot of electronics and kind of weird electronic drums and just trying to make. But again, we've sort of just started working on one song. It can end up being almost anything, but we've sort of decided that we both want to play synth and then at various times I might play bass and he might play guitar, but it's going to be kind of an experimental electronic kind of a thing.
Cool. Yeah, he's gone a little crazy. He came over and I showed him some modular synth stuff and loaned him some books on how to build your own synthesizers and stuff. And I think he's gone a little mad.
He's sent me pictures of various really cool electronic instruments he's bought. So I'm excited. I was there for the last practice. He had this really cool old analog drum machine that he's working with, you know, like I don't know. I mean, it looks like a synthesizer. It looks like a modular synthesizer. It's like a board with all these little square black buttons, but
the Roland or the Behringer version of the Roland 808?
I think it is. Yeah.
I think he showed me that too.
Those things are really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Landon, the illness, well, I shouldn't call it an illness, the awesome illness that is modular synth syndrome or syndrome has infected Landon now, huh?
Yeah. I've still just got my d.i.y and my little cheap MIDI keyboard that Rodney from the Dead Milkmen said I should get. So
works.
That's still my rig. But yeah, he's gotten all kinds of really cool actual synthesizers.
Nice.
Wow, yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, I'm excited to start working on some stuff with him.
Yeah.
Hey Jack, I had a question. This is just a curiosity, and maybe there's no real answer. This might be kind of a weird question, but it's regarding the last track, "Follow Me Home."
Yeah,
I just thought that was such a cool closer to end it with, like, a cappella song. What was was there any like particular reason for that sort of being a cappella? Did you originally have music for it and decide that it worked better? Was it just kind of a spur of the moment thing, or was there any plan?
No, I wrote that driving to work one day in my car, and it was just, I mean, I just wrote it as a vocal part, and I guess I had a plan for a while I might try to build kind of, for lack of a better description, kind of like a Julie Cruz ripoff sort of instrumentation under it, like an Angela Badalamenti kind of a thing. And one, I just never got around to it, and another, I also I mentioned much earlier that I've attempted to record albums a bunch, and then there was the 4-track blew up a long time ago. Then about 10 years ago, I had this little digital recorder, and I had almost an identical plan for the end of that record. There was an a cappella piece that I recorded out in an echoey barn, and I was just gonna end the album with it. And then at some point for Follow Me Home, I just decided that, well, why don't I just leave it a cappella and I'll end the album with it like I was going to do 10 years ago on that little digital recorder. So that's kind of just what ended up happening.
Cool. Nice. Yeah. I just thought that was I really enjoyed that. Like, sort of the way that ended, it kind of almost like was sort of this, I don't know, the album just reminded me of almost like a build up, and then it was kind of going down, and then it just sort of ended with this really nice note,
Wow, thank you. That's really cool to hear. Landon described it as, he said, "Man, that's ballsy." That's ballsy, ending the record with just your voice like that. But
yeah, that's another thing that I really liked about it. You don't hear that very often. You do hear it oftentimes, and this is going to sound kind of weird, but
Not at all.
You do hear it in hip hop a lot. Like you hear acapella. Like acapella is actually a big thing in rap music.
Yeah.
More so with freestyle rap battles and things like that. But on record too, there's a lot of, especially like a lot of the sort of like backpacker stuff that I listen to from like the mid 2000s or whatever. There's a lot of like moments where the beat will stop and you'll just hear like, you know, that, you know, like the flow or whatever, you know?
Yeah. I've heard, I love hip hop. One of my kids is really, really into rap. So I've heard a lot more rap in the last couple of years than I kind of maybe had in the 10 years or so previous, but I'll have to check that out, or maybe I'll have to message me some stuff I should check out, because that actually sounds really cool. Like something I'd like to hear. But thank you. I appreciate that.
No, yeah, totally. Just thought that was a really cool decision.
I was about to say, getting to where I got to start putting my kids to bed. So,
okay, all right.
I was just going to say we can talk as long as you want, but
thank you guys so much for doing this.
Absolutely.
My kids have kind of been in and out of here, so you might kind of hear them on the mic, you know. But like just now, while I was saying that, my kid asked me to unlock my phone for him, and I did, and handed it, because he wants to look up, like he watches like how to draw this or that tutorials.
Oh, sure.
Sure.
He's actually been sitting next to me for maybe about half this or something. Nice. Just hanging out with me.
I'm glad we kept it together and didn't say too horrible of things.
Oh,
yeah. No. Sometimes we do.
No, well, I got my headphones on. So.
Sure.
No, actually, I'd say half to 3/4 of the record, like no shit, was recorded like literally like sitting on the couch with my kids sitting next to me.
Are they to the age yet where are any of them like appreciating like what you do as a musician, or have they heard any of your music or anything?
Oh yeah, they love it. They're like totally proud of me, which is really cool. Like
awesome.
Yeah, they love it, and they're like they've asked me to put it on before. Like, hey, put on some of your songs or whatever. They've kind of the same kid I mentioned who likes rap has said something to the effect of like, it's really cool, like listening to music and it sounds like anything else you'd hear on the radio, but it's your dad.
Wow.
They're really supportive. They're really proud of me. My wife Melanie Lacey, who did the artwork for this album and the single, I don't know if you noticed, I gave her an arrangement credit, because like half of those songs, I would play them to her at various stages, and she would say, well, maybe try playing the first part off the beat, then try playing the second part on the beat. And like I would take her suggestions. A lot of times it would just totally make the song. Like
that's awesome.
She 1000% earned that credit, because her arrangement suggestions made a lot of those songs what they are, I think. So I cannot thank her enough for that. Yeah, and she does all my artwork, and I'd like her to keep doing all my artwork for my solo stuff.
So last question, then we'll let you go. Since you mentioned continuing solo stuff, do you have plans right now to start working on something else anytime soon? I've
started building a couple drum beats, and that's kind of as far as it's gotten. But yeah, cool. Absolutely. I suppose I started working on that stuff before me and Landon sort of decided that we were going to form a band. So I think in the immediate, anything I work on is probably going to be working on that band with him. But yeah, I've already started sort of putting ideas together for the next solo record, so that there will be one of those too. But this one took like 2 years or something to make this 20-minute record. So it could be, maybe look for the next one around 2025.
Yeah,
we'll be ready.
Maybe it'll be longer than 20 minutes, but likely not. We'll see. But yeah, as you mentioned, I'm looking around. 4 of my kids. I'm recording on my bed, and I'm looking around, and 4 of my kids are in here with me. So I should probably hop off.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for hopping on, Jack.
Thank you so much.
When's that show? One more time.
June 3rd, Octopus Cedar Falls, Midwest Rapper Sank, Then you got Jack Christensen with Landon Strauss backing me up, and then Old Scratch Revival singers are closing the night out. And both me and Eric are playing in the
featuring
Old Scratch.
Jack.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
nice.
Please, if you're within the sound of my voice, I implore you, please try to make it out to Octopus in Cedar Falls June 3rd. You won't regret it.
It'll be fun.
All right, I gotta hop off.
Yeah,
thanks
so
much, you guys.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jack.
Talk to you later.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
Well,
no. God.
Oh, shoot! I forgot. I need to consult you about that. Sorry, Eric. I completely forgot. I'm sorry. I lost my mind again. But yeah. That was a really cool interview with Jack Christensen, and also, his last name is Christian Sin.
Yeah.
So sins committed by
that's pretty cool. Yeah, you got it. You figured it out.
Yeah, exactly. Like I always have to explain things to other people that I don't understand, but then they understand much quicker than me. So it's like they're like, "Yeah, we get it, man." That's how it always goes in my life. People are like, "Yeah, we get it, Dan," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't," sort of thing.
I figure anyone listening to this spends most of the time listening going, yeah, we get it, guys. Wow.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Why don't you beat that dead horse a little harder?
Eric, I do have to say something though.
Oh shit.
It is such an Eric Whitaker thing to not tell me about a show you're playing. Octopus, and then for me to find out during an interview with the guy who's going to be playing bass.
Yeah. Sorry.
But you know what though? But I do have to say though, it's not like let's be honest. It's probably not like I'm going to make it to the show anyway. And I do want to say something about that because I'm afraid that sometimes when I say that, people are thinking that I'm kind of being an ass. Like I really am genuinely upset that I can't go to shows like I used to. You know what I mean? It really does. Sure. It really is something that I wish I could do more of. So currently my way of supporting these bands is to, mention them on this podcast. And I hope that that's working. You know what I mean? I'm hoping that that's, because since I can't go to shows like I used to, I enjoy having artists like Jack Christensen on, or Moscow Puzzles, or Haploid, and bands that are maybe like, you know what I mean? Bands that maybe other bands haven't really heard of, or other people involved. And I'm just, so I do want people to know that, yes, I do joke about not going to shows, but I really do wish that I could go to more shows.
Yeah. Well, we all play our parts, but, we do what we can.
No, absolutely. All right. So just remember everyone, send us a message through Instagram and accelerativ.thrust@gmail.com. And thank you for listening, and check out that Jack Christensen album.
All right. Well, of course, as always,
all right, everyone,
for listening.
Have a good bye.
Yeah. We'll talk to you all later.
Bye. Bye.
He holds it up. He says, "I've got a Taco Bell," and he holds it up holds this big burrito out.
Wow.